Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, double honor to the apostles and the elders, and salutation to you sincere brothers, teaching in truth and in sincerity. This lesson is going to be entitled, Romans, the 13th chapter, does not mean take the microchip. First scripture, Romans 13:1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High. So at this time frame, Esau is ruling this kingdom because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai has given him that power. Let's prove this point. Daniel 4:17. This matter is by the decree, which is in order of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High rule in the kingdom of men, and give it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the bases of men. Okay, and Esau also is considered as a base man. Let's prove this point. Job 30:1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision. Now let's focus on younger in the Hebrew. And it's Strong's H68:19, pronounced as Taza-ira, which means to be or grow insignificant, grow small, brought low, shall be small. Okay, now Esau was the eldest son out of him and Jacob. Therefore, the birthright supposed to have went to Esau. However, in the spirit, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai placed the spirit on Jacob to supplant him out of the birthright. So therefore, from that day forth, Esau grew insignificant. Okay, he became small. He became ignoble. Now, ignoble means not honorable in character or purpose. Why? Because he sold his birthright. Therefore, he became dishonorable. He became unworthy. He became base, shameful for what he did, contemptible, and despicable. All right. Back into Job 30:1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision. And derision in the Hebrew is going at to be made sport of, to scoff at. So now since Esau is in that seat of authority, he scoffs at our people. He makes sport of our people. For example, when he see a woman in Walmart that can't control her children, he's scoffing at that. Or when he's inside and of his house in his living room watching the news and see where Jake robs another Jake or guns down another Jake, then he scoffs at that. Or when he passes by the impoverished conditions of where Jake is living at, he's scoffing. And then he has the audacity to say if he work hard or go to college and save his money, then he can live where we're living at. Okay, whose fathers I would have disdained. Now, when something is disdained in the Hebrew, that is talking about being rejected, to have set with the dogs of my flock. So back in the ancient times, we didn't want Esau near our animals, such as our dogs. Now, verse 5. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. Now remember, in the Garden of Eden, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai told the snake that he would eat dust. Now, in the Garden of Eden, Esau was considered as a power or a god because he knew good and evil. Therefore, when Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai instructed him that he would eat the dust, meaning he was going to be brought to a low state. And this is that low state that's going back from that curse. Okay, Job 30:5. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. Verse 6. To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Hence the term Caucasians. Verse 7, among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. Verse 8, they were children of fools, yea, children of base men, they were viler than the earth. Another point to prove that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua rules in the kingdom of men. 1 Kings 11:31, and he said to Jeroboam, and that he is Ahijah the prophet, take thee 10 pieces, for thus said Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, the power of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. So, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua split the kingdom of Israel within 2 fractions. It became known as the house of Israel, which 3 tribes went to Rehoboam, and the other 10 tribes went to Jeroboam. And that goes to show you that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua rules in the kingdom of men. Back into Romans 13:2. Whosoever therefore resists the power. Now in the Greek, meaning that term resist means trying to go to war or make battle. Okay? So meaning if you're trying to force this man's hand, then Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is not with that. Okay, that's what that resist mean. Trying to go to war with the powers that be. Alright? Resist the ordinance of the Most High. Why? Because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua did not set these militias up. You know, the only person is set up to actually resist and go to war with Esau is Yahushua. That's who's going to redeem us back, Lord willing. And if you are a part of that elect. Resist the ordinance of the Most High, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Acts 5:34. Then stood there one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had a reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space. Verse 35, and said unto them, ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what ye intend to do as touching these men. Verse 36, for before these days rose up Theodas, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who were slain, and all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. Verse 37, after this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. Okay, so this is what Romans 13:2 is talking about. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. And 2 key figures are Theodas and Judas. Why? Because they tried to take this man down with their might. Okay. Back in Romans 13:3, for rulers are not a terror to good works. Why? Because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to protect you. And you know what? I'm just going to read on down to prove that point. Verse 38. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel or this word be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow it, lest haply ye be found even to fight against the Most High. Because on the right-hand side, you have men set up to go against this society. You know, from a spiritual standpoint, to prophesy against the society, then that physical manifestation is going to come to life, beginning with Yahushua. All right, back in Romans 13:3, for the rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Why? Because you understand in the truth that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is the king of terrors. Okay, and this man Esau can't do nothing to you unless Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua authorizes it. All right, do that which is good, and thou shalt have the praise of the same. Okay, now what is good? Matthew 19:7, and he said unto him, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is the Most High. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. Okay? So that is what's good. Having the faith in Yahweh and Yahweh Shai and keeping the commandments to the best of your abilities, man, and making full proof of the ministry. All right, back into the scripture. Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. Because eventually, Lord willing, you're part of that elect, man. Hey, you will receive salvation. Romans 13:4. For he is the minister of the Most High to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. So what is evil? If you take the chip, that is evil, and you will be destroyed. Okay? And as a part of partaking in evil is taking that chip. Because in the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter, it instructs you not to take that chip. And that is also a commandment as well. And as a consequence of that, Revelation 14:9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast, what's the beast? NATO and the EU, and his image. What's the image? The system. And receive his mark, which is the chip, in his forehead or in his hand. Verse 10, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, his righteous anger, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone. What's that? Those are the missiles, in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Okay? Back into Romans 13:4. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of the Most High, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Whenever you see these Edomites killing Jake out there in the streets, this is ordained by Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. Okay? Prove that point. Zephaniah 3:5. The just Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning do he bring his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. The victims' families are saying, I don't understand why this happened. He was a good guy, so on and so forth. But they don't understand the judgment of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? And that goes back to Romans 13:4. A revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. So a lot of times, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai can send Esau as that avenue to have you destroyed, man. That's him bringing. That's just one way he brings judgment upon you. Okay. Last scripture, Romans 13:5. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for a conscience sake. So you don't supposed to go against this man's system in a form of rebellion, such as trying to take this man down with your own might. You have to wait on Yahweh Shai. And if you are a prophet, you continue to prophesy. All right? That's what you do. And a key example of being subjective unto the higher powers, Matthew 22:17. Tell us therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? Verse 18. But Yahweh shall perceive their wickedness and said, why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites? Verse 19. Show me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny. Verse 20. And he said unto them, who is the image and subscription? Verse 21. They say unto him, Caesar's. Then saith he unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto the Most High the things that are the Most High's. So when this man pushed the chip on you, you know by Revelation, the 13th chapter, you aren't supposed to take that chip, man. You know that you're supposed to be subject to Esau, meaning that you're supposed to, not take this man down with your own might. You're supposed to wait on Yahweh Shai to take this man down. If, like I said, if you're a prophet, you prophesy, you continue to do the work, and you pray. You do which is good by keeping the faith in Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, and keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments to the best of your ability. Hope you're edified. Shalom.